Hey everyone, this is B. Kim from Beat the GMAT. Welcome to our fourth day in this Integrated Reasoning webinar series. Today we actually have Erin Lin from Master GMAT who will be presenting a deep dive on the Integrated Reasoning question type table analysis. So a little bit about Erin is you may recognize him and his name. He's actually a very prolific writer for Master GMAT on our website, Beat the GMAT. So we're really happy to have him here today. He's a quant instructor for Master GMAT, who's obviously one of our esteemed GMAT partners. So I would definitely highly recommend you, if you haven't gone there yet, to definitely visit their website, mastergmat.com, and give them a try. So without further ado, I want to pass the ball over to Erin. Before I do that, though, I would like to mention that go ahead and ask your questions throughout the webinar in the questions area of your control panel. I know a lot of you have already been doing that. It looks like we have tons of people from all over the world, London, the U.S., India, Singapore, which is great. So feel free to go ahead and ask your questions there, and we'll reserve the last 10 minutes or so to answer your questions. So with that, Erin, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Bea. Hi, everyone. It's great to have you all here today. Once again, my name is Erin, and I'm one of the instructors here at Master GMAT. Now, today we're going to be continuing Part 4 on Beat the GMAT's Integrated Reasoning Deep Dive series. For every day of the last week, we've been going in-depth into one of the question types on the new section on the GMAT that's coming out in June. And today, the topic that I'm going to be covering is the table analysis section. Now, before we get started, I'd actually like to introduce you to a little bit about Master GMAT. If you've ever visited the Beat the GMAT verified course reviews, you'll see that Master GMAT is the highest rated prep course at Beat the GMAT. I'd like to share with you a little bit about why our students love our course and what makes our test prep special. You see, several years ago, our team at Master GMAT asked ourselves a novel question. How can we take GMAT prep to the next level? You see, we grew out of a desire to solve this problem of creating a brighter way for students to get their MBA. Our team took inspiration from a novel idea. As you know, the real GMAT adapts to your strengths and weaknesses over time, so that each person's test is unique. But strangely enough, most of the GMAT prep material that you see today still adopts a one-size-fits-all mentality. You see, whether you study with books or whether you study with a classroom, the content always remains static, and it never adapts to your abilities over time. Now, we weren't satisfied with this approach. After all, why can't prepping for the GMAT be just as personalized and just as adaptive as the exam? So with this mission in mind, we sought to use cutting-edge technology to deliver an online course that provides a powerful, personalized learning experience, one that you have never seen before. So after years of hard work, our team has succeeded. And today with Master GMAT, you can finally use a prep course that was built to fit you. You see, our software is designed to adapt to your abilities over time. So as you study with us, Master GMAT will pinpoint your weak areas and help customize those practice problems that you receive. You'll get personalized feedback on how you're doing. So in addition to progress reports, we've built in analytics which let you visualize your performance over time. We offer live one-on-one tutoring so that if you get stuck on a difficult concept, you can have private sessions with a live instructor. And one of my favorite features, our course has a built-in question and answer system to let you contact instructors for help with difficult questions. It's not run by robots. I help actually answer these, and I get lots of comments for students who think I'm a robot, but no, you actually get a real instructor to help you out. This feature helps you save lots of time and score better on the exam, because now you're not worried about getting your questions answered by scavenging online. Best of all, our entire course is completely available online. So all you need to use Master GMAT is the web browser you're using this video in. Our program is accessible anywhere you have an internet connection, and it is available 24/7, so you can study any time of the day. And you know what? I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to experience Master GMAT for yourself. So we offer a free 7-day trial where you can check out all of the features of our program firsthand. The trial includes access to 20% of our online course, and you're going to learn GMAT strategies and tricks. What's more, every trial comes with a free practice exam. If you have never taken the GMAT before, and I know there's quite a few of you who've never done the GMAT before, this is your chance to take a free diagnostic exam with us. You can get a benchmark of your current GMAT scores. You can do it at the end of the webinar, and in fact, you can do it right now if you'd like. Just visit our website. It's mastergmat.com. Sign up for a free trial and take our free practice exam. Oh, and I'd like to mention just one more thing. We are currently having a special sale for all of the attendees of the Beat the GMAT webinar. So for all of next week, from now until May 28th, everyone here, all of the attendees at this webinar, can save 20% on any course at Master GMAT. This is an unbelievable value. And to get in this exclusive offer, you need to use the special promo code webinar20. So let me repeat. From now on until May 28th, you can save 20% on any course at Master GMAT using the promo code webinar20. Now the details of this promo code are going to go out by email right after this webinar ends or soon thereafter. Just apply the promo code before you upgrade with us. At the end of this talk, I'm going to share with you exactly how you can enter the discount, and I'm going to save a little special treat for all of you who hang out with me until the end. So please try to stick around. I know it's a lengthy talk, but I think you'll enjoy it. You'll learn a lot about table analysis. And also you'll get details on how you can save up to $150 on the courses at Master GMAT. Now let's get back and let's talk a little bit about the integrated reasoning section now. So I know many of you today are feeling anxious about the new IR section. There are lots of charts and diagrams and tables that you'll need to interpret. This new section is pretty unpredictable, and I understand it adds to your nervousness. After all, the GMAT is a high-stakes exam. So before we get into the nitty-gritty details, I'd actually like to share with you a quote from Dr. Benjamin Spock. Here's his advice. Trust yourself. You know more than you think you do. Today I'd like to leave you with that same piece of advice. Trust yourself. The IR section, the table analysis section, may seem very difficult and foreign at first, but you truly know more than you think you do. Many of these problems involve diagrams, charts, and figures, which is just data from spreadsheets that you probably deal with every day. The table analysis section is nothing different. All right, so let's go ahead. I'd like to now share with you a sample table analysis question. What you see here is similar in format and content to what you'll see on the new GMAT. So go ahead, take a brief moment and let it sink in. Check out the charts and the data in the cells, and maybe check out the questions a little bit. All right, so let me give you a quick overview. So here we have a prominent table. It has lots of data about salaries and job growth based on profession. The table is probably the most prominent figure here. But right underneath, you'll probably notice we have a series of yes or no questions. And these will come with the table analysis problem that we need to answer as part of the test. So pull that away. Let's talk a little bit about what to expect on the table analysis section. Now, if you'll recall, the new GMAT features 12 new IR questions in total. You can expect that 2 of those questions will be table analysis questions. You'll have roughly 2.5 minutes per question on the new IR section, so expect to be spending roughly 5 minutes in total for table analysis. Every one of these questions are going to involve a single sortable table. I like to think of them as Excel tables because I really believe that's what they are. You can sort each of the rows of the tables according to ascending or descending order to help you interpret the either-or questions. Now, towards the end of this webinar, I should say in the middle of the webinar, we're going to cover both the table and the either-or questions in depth. We're going to talk about new strategies and tips because both of these are totally new to the GMAT. All right, let's go ahead and flip back to our table analysis problem. For now, I just want you to focus on the table and to give it your full concentration. So I'm going to hide the either-or questions from you. Don't want you to get distracted there. Now, as we approach this table, the first aspect that we should notice about it is what kind of data is this table trying to convey? Remember, tables are not just random streams of data. They're not like Twitter feeds, you know? Tables are constructed with a purpose in mind. So we need to figure out what they mean. Why don't you go ahead, spend a few seconds now to view the table and to try to understand its purpose. All right, I'm going to continue going a little bit because we have a lot to cover today. Excuse me. This table is a jobs and salary report table for the years 2008 to 2010. This is data that typically an economist or a business student like yourself might need to thumb through to predict employment forecasts for the coming years. We're given professions, we're given the salaries for 2008, for 2010. In the fourth column, we're given the change in salaries as a percent, and in the fifth column, we're given the jobs growth, again, as percent. Now, in one respect, table analysis probably differs greatly from any of the questions that you've seen before on the quant. You see, on the quant, you have very little data, but you have to scrutinize each piece of information very carefully to solve the problem. In other words, there are no wasted bits of data. If you omit certain pieces of information while solving the problem, it's often an indicator that you solved the problem incorrectly. For table analysis, though, the reverse is true. Wasted data is actually the norm. You'll get lots of data, but you actually do relatively little analysis. So your job here is to skim the table, understand what it's about, read the either-or questions, and then only pick out those specific values that are going to help you solve the problem. All of the other data can pretty much be ignored. All right, let's get to the fun part, huh? Let's talk about sorting. So I'm going to hover my cursor over the drop-down box over here you see at the top left corner, and it's going to let me sort my data. So I'm going to give it a click. Now, I can rank the rows of the table by whatever variable I choose. For example, let's go ahead and sort by 2008 salary. Instantly, presto, it's there. Now the tables are sorted in ascending order. You've got the journalist at the top earning a meager $57,815 per year, and you've got the physician at bottom earning a whopping $148K. Now on the real GMAT, you'll be allowed to sort using a very similar drop-down box. If you're not comfortable with Excel, if you're not comfortable with spreadsheets, don't worry about it. You don't need to issue any Excel commands. You don't need to deal with macros. You simply click to sort by row. There are no complex sorting instructions to worry about. Basically, all the tables are just sorted by rows for a single variable. Now, we could go ahead, actually, and let's change the variable we're sorting by. I'd like to sort by the change in salary. So let's sort by the change in salary as a percent. It's done. Okay. Now, if you look in the fourth column, now we see how quickly the salaries for the different professions grew in 2 years. Accounting, apparently, grew the quickest at, is it 8.09%? But the salaries for journalism and science are actually shrinking. The internet is really damaging the publishing business, so journalists are really losing out in the economy. We can actually go and sort to our heart's content. So let's do so, huh? Let's have some fun. Let's sort by jobs increase now. And again, instantly sorted. So we can check out which jobs increased the most quickly in the last 2 years. I can't, okay, so I see nursing and programming were the fastest growing jobs in the last 2 years. So let's quickly recap what we've covered so far. On the table analysis section, you'll need to sort the tables to answer the questions. To make things simpler for you, the sort choices have been limited. There are no complex sorting procedures. No vertical sorting, no multivariable sorting, no macros. Breathe a sigh of relief, You'll have the option to sort based on ascending order or on descending order. And as a quick tip to you guys, make sure you watch out if it's sorted in ascending order or descending order. You don't want to inadvertently sort for the wrong order. You're going to totally throw off the answer to the question. All right, so let me give you some guidelines. I'd like to help you approach the table analysis problems systematically. We call them work orders at Master GMAT. The idea is I don't want you to be approaching each question in a haphazardly manner, sort of stumbling upon the right answer on test day. We want you to be very careful and systematic. And so Master GMAT emphasizes work orders for all of the questions that we teach on the quant and the verbal. We talk about step-by-step procedures. So here's kind of a work order for you for the table analysis problems. I want you to make sure you read the captions carefully. Now, I've omitted captions because I know that small font is hard to read for a webinar, but on the real GMAT, you can expect a lot of microscopic fine print. Okay, they're going to make it as tiny as they can without you bringing a magnifying glass. So just be careful. There's going to be text above and beside the table. Please, please do not skim over this text. Spend your time reading these captions. It's worth every second. Captions reveal key details. For example, a caption may tell you what years the salary data is valid for. Captions may tell you whether this data is collected for employees in the USA only, whether it's data for employees all around the world, whether this data is a forecast. For example, how do you know that the salary for 2010 is a hard figure? What if it's actually a projection? It's just the estimated salary. People make up data all the time in statistics in real life and on the GMAT. So, you don't trust these things. The second thing you need to pay attention to is you want to understand the purpose of the table. You don't need to understand every nitty-gritty detail about the table. Obviously, you don't need to memorize the facts. You don't need to know how much money a lawyer earned in 2008. But you do need to know, roughly speaking, what information the table contains before you even attempt the either-or questions. Finally, I want you to look for trends in the table. This is going to help guide you when you look at the statements. For example, does a rise in salary correlate with a rise in jobs growth? Okay. So now that we've taken an in-depth look at the table, I would like to take a look at the new question type that you'll see on the GMAT. These are the either-or questions. So let's bring them back up on the screen again. All right, our either-or questions. Up to this point, the questions on the GMAT have been simple, straightforward, multiple choice questions. You're basically choosing an answer choice from A through E. However, for table analysis, the multiple choice questions are of the either-or type. For each question, you're going to be given 3 statements. Okay? For each of the either-or questions, you'll be given 3 statements. Each of these statements will have 2 possible answers. It could be a yes or no type question, could be a true or false type of question, or it could be an inferable, not inferable type question. Now, the inferable, not inferable answer choices will probably need a little explanation. For those of you that are familiar with the GMAT, this is basically the same concept that was tested in the data sufficiency section. They're testing the idea of whether or not the table gives you sufficient data. This is slightly different from an answer of yes or no. We're not answering whether the statement is true or false. We're answering whether or not we have enough information to answer the question. So for example, let's say you're given some sort of random question. If you can answer yes for certain, or if you can answer no for certain, the statement is inferable. If it could be either way, it's a toss-up and you don't really know, then the statement is not inferable. Now I understand this is a bit of a tricky concept, and if you have never taken the GMAT before, if you're new to this, it's going to be challenging. And sufficiency really trips up a lot of students. This is precisely why Master GMAT dedicates several in-depth lessons to teaching this concept of sufficiency for the data sufficiency section. We approach the lesson in a very systematic manner, providing you with the work order along with adaptive practice problems to help you review. At the end of the session for the special treat, I'm going to provide you some details on how you can study with us. Now, once you've done a quick analysis of the table, you should go and read the statements. The key step is you want to match the statements to the different rows and columns in the table. I'm going to walk you through two problems together so that we can see our work order in action. Let's return to our table now and take a look at the three questions that we have. Question number 1. The top 3 fastest growing careers each earned less than $100,000 in 2008. Now, to solve this question, we're going to need to sort the table according to jobs increase in percent. So I'm going to do that instantly for you, just like that. Sorted by jobs increase. Wonderful. Now, what we're going to need to do next is I want to circle the top 3 fastest growing careers for you. The top 3 fastest growing careers are engineering, nursing, and programming. Now, let's head on over to the column with salaries in 2008. And let's take a look at those values. Okay, head on over with me. Now, do you see any salaries that exceed $100,000? I wish I could poll you guys. Unfortunately, I'm not as familiar with GoToWebinar, so we can't really. We'll save the question and answers for later. But basically, I hope you realize that there are no salaries that exceed $100,000. So the answer to this question is yes. Indeed, the top 3 fastest growing salaries all earned less than $100K. Excellent. Now, the next statement says, for journalism and law, decreases in new jobs is a reflection of decreases in salary. All right. So it's saying that the loss in jobs is a direct result of a decrease in salary. So we're going to need to verify if that's true. To solve this question, we're going to want to sort the table again, this time by jobs increase in percent. Oh, actually, we've already done that. Excellent. And as you can see, journalism and law were both professions that saw a decrease in jobs from 2008 to 2010. I went ahead and circled those values for you. The question is asking us, is this a reflection of decreases in salary? Let's head on over, mosey on back to column 2, and pay attention to the percent. I'm sorry, mosey on back to column 4, and let's pay attention to the percent change in salary. Circle that for you now. So pay attention. It's true. Journalism saw both a decrease in salary and a decrease in growth, but there's a little anomaly here. Law did not. Law actually had an increase in salary but a decrease in jobs. And so the answer to statement 2 is no. Okay, pretty straightforward. Just bubble in those radio buttons when you're taking the test. Let's take a look at our third and final statement for this question. The last statement in this either-or question is, accounting experienced a greater increase in median salary compared to the highest paying profession in 2008? Wow, that's a little bit dense. In fact, I need to read it again because I'm having a little hard time following. So it says, accounting experienced a greater increase in median salary compared to the highest paying profession in 2008. I think I know why I had a hard time understanding it. This question is intentionally vague. What exactly is the highest paying profession of 2008? This is a multi-step problem that it's very common for you to encounter on the GMAT. So we're going to first figure out what this profession is, and then we can answer the question. We'll do that by sorting the column by salary for 2008. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, now the salaries are sorted for 2008. Take a look here. The physician, bringing in 148K. Wow, what a salary. Okay. Now, the physician has the highest paying salary of 2008, so we'll go ahead and compare that now with the salary increase of the accountant versus the salary increase of the physician. So to do that, let's pay attention to the 2008 and 2010 salary of the accountant. Okay, so keep your eyes peeled on the 2008-2010 salary. Next, let's pay attention to the 2008-2010 salary of the physician. What we're going to do here is we want to take the difference between the two numbers to figure out what's the increase in salary. Now for the accountant, it is $69,450 minus $64,250. Now if you're like me, you're thinking, this is a really involved number. That's a lot of calculations. Many of you probably know already that you're going to be given a calculator on the new IR section. So you can just punch this in. But you know what? I'm kind of old school. I think you're better off just approximating the numbers. This is the technique that we at Master GMAT call ballparking. We use it routinely for the quant because you're not going to be given a calculator on the quant. So let's go ahead and use it for the IR section. Let's give a rough estimate. You know, forget about the hundreds digit, forget about the tens digit. Let's just round to the nearest thousand. So the salary for 2010 is $69,000. And the salary for 2008 is $64,000. We take the difference of that, and I think it's roughly 5K, 5,000. Let's repeat the same for the physician. We've got 152,000, ignore the hundreds and the tens, and we've got 148,000. If we take the difference of the two, we get 4,000 roughly. So indeed, if you compare the accountant's increase versus the physician's increase, you get yes to the question stem. So on the real GMAT, ballpark, please. Ballpark. It's a lot faster. So we're going to answer yes to the question stem. Wow, maybe it's a good time to be an accountant, huh? Now, I think we've had enough of, excuse me. Excuse me. I think we've had enough of salary data for now. I'm sure all of you have spent lots of time thumbing through salary data on online sites. I know I have. And probably that's why you're aiming for your MBA. Want to increase that salary. So let's take something a little bit less serious. Let's put aside employment data for now. And I want to deal with a question that I find a lot more appetizing. So speaking of appetizing, I think right now on the East Coast, it's supper time for you guys. Now, I heard that this webinar, we've got people from all over the world, so maybe you can think about breakfast over there. But for the East Coast, it's supper time. And I was thinking about grabbing a bite to eat, maybe having some hamburger and fries. So let's have our next topic cover the economics of fast food. I think that sounds a lot more fun. Now, a few decades ago, back in 1986, there was an economist named Pan Woodall who invented a funny index known as the Big Mac Index. I'm not sure if you've heard of it before. It's featured on The Economist quite a few times. The basic idea is economists want to measure the cost of living. But we've often seen indicators like consumer price index, and I'll be honest with you, it's boring. Okay, let's try to measure the cost of living using a price of something that we can all relate to. A very popular fast food item, the Big Mac. So the question is, how much did a Big Mac cost in various parts of the world? You'd be surprised about how this simple question can lead to some really fun and interesting analyses. Let me ask you, have you ever wondered how many Big Macs you can buy with $50? If I were to give you a $50 bill today, how many Big Macs could you afford? Now the interesting question is, it really depends on where you live. Perhaps someday, if inflation in the USA, if inflation gets high enough and oil prices keep rising, maybe we'd only be able to purchase one hamburger. Right now, we can probably purchase something around 4 hamburgers if you count the combo meal. In some countries, though, you can probably buy 7 hamburgers with $50. In other countries, and I'm going to show you, it's amazing the bargain you can get in India, where the Big Mac is only like $1.50. Wow, you could buy 14 Big Macs with a $50 bill. It's really phenomenal. So let's flip over. Let's do some burgernomics, shall we? Let's take a look at this table. So you see we've got all sorts of fascinating data for the prices of Big Macs all around the world. Why don't you go ahead and see if you can find your country on there. Right now the table is sorted alphabetically by country name, but we could just as easily sort it by the price of a Big Mac. Let's sort it by Big Mac index right now. As you can see, Big Mac costs as little as $1.62 in India, but it costs as much as $6.79 in Norway. Wow, big difference, isn't it? So indirectly, the Big Mac is a measure of the cost of living. And in many ways, I think it's a lot more fun and tangible compared to your run-of-the-mill economic indices like consumer price index for employed, whatever. The Big Mac index alone, however, is not all that useful in analyzing economic conditions. Yeah, I know that $1.50 for a hamburger from India sounds like a great deal. If you can see here, we Americans are used to paying triple the price. But you also need to keep into consideration the amount of disposable income that the typical consumer has. You see, because even if hamburgers cost less than $2.50, say in Thailand, if it costs less than $2.50, that doesn't necessarily mean that hamburgers are more affordable for the Thai people than they are, say, to the French. Really, it's all relative. We need extra data to compare the earnings. So that's where the economic indicators, GDP per capita, come into play. And that's column 3 on your table. So GDP per capita is roughly a measure of how much each person in the country produces. It's the sum of all goods and services divided by the total population, roughly speaking. And finally, in the third column of the table, we've got the year-over-year rate of growth. Now let's try to tackle the either-or questions using the work order that I had described earlier. So first we're going to read the table, try to understand its basic gist. We don't need to memorize all the facts, but we do need to see its purpose, its reason for being. Next, we're going to approach the either-or questions. We're going to read each statement carefully and then sort the table in a way that helps us to answer the question. All right, I'm going to go ahead and begin for you. Statement 1 says, no country with a Big Mac index of 5.0 or higher had more than 3% GDP growth. So we're going to go ahead, I'm going to sort the table by Big Mac index in ascending order. Oh, actually, I see I've already done so. And as you can see here, the last 3 rows in the table represent the countries with the largest Big Mac index. It's Brazil, Sweden, and Norway. Wow, $7 for a Big Mac. Now we went ahead and circled that, and we're going to also circle the GDP growth rate. Do you see any country here that has a GDP growth rate of higher than 3%? Yeah, Brazil has a GDP growth rate that's higher than 3%. well, excuse me. So even though its Big Macs are relatively expensive, statement 1 is actually incorrect. Brazil actually has a GDP growth rate of more than 3%. So the answer here is no. All right, now let's take a look at statement 2. If China continues at the same rate of growth, its GDP per capita will exceed $5,900 next year. Can you go ahead and find China on the table? It's row number 2, I think. Let me circle it for you. Let's take a look. So as you can see, China experienced slightly more than 10% growth this year, and its GDP per capita was $5,414. So if we want to calculate what the rate of growth will continue at and what its GDP will be next year, we simply add 10% to the current value. So we multiply 5414 by 1.1. You can do this on the calculator again, but we like to emphasize ballparking at Master GMAT. So what we can do is a little shortcut. Instead of calculating 1.1 times 5414, we're going to add 10%. To do this, we're going to take the original value, and then we're going to add 1/10 of that. So 5,400 divided by 10. So we sum up 5414 plus 540. Again, this is just a rough ballpark. When we sum it up, we get slightly over 5,900, something like 5,914. So the answer to this statement is yes. If China continues this same crazy rapid growth, yes, indeed, it exceeds 5,900 by next period. Great. Now there's just one last statement ahead of us. We need to ask ourselves, could the average American afford to purchase more Big Macs than the average Brit? Now we're getting onto something interesting, right? So, are Big Macs more affordable for the Americans versus the British? This piece of data simply isn't in the table, but as usual, you'll be expected to imply and to infer your way to answer some of the questions on the GMAT. So we're going to see if we can get an indirect way to calculate the number of Big Macs that, in theory, a citizen could purchase. To figure out how roughly, we're going to take the GDP per capita and divide that by the Big Mac index. Remember, the GDP per capita represents how much a person on average produces in the economy, and the Big Mac index is just the plain old price of a Big Mac. No fries, no soda, by the way. Okay, so for example, with Russia, the GDP per capita is $12,993. Russia is row 5, by the way. $12,993. And the Big Mac index for Russia is 2.55. So if we do the division, 12,993 divided by 2.55, we end up finding that, on average, the citizen of Russia could purchase roughly 5,000 Big Macs if they devoted every single dollar in the economy to buying hamburgers. So let's do the same unrealistic but funny comparison for the USA and for the United Kingdom. So for the USA, we've got 48,387 divided by 4.2. And for the United Kingdom, we've got 38,592 divided by 3.82. These numbers are complicated, so let's go ahead and use the calculator to compute the values. Okay, I'm going to write them down. It's right below the table. You guys see that? 48,387 divided by 4.2, greater than or equal to, we don't know yet, 38,592 divided by 3.82. All right, now if you did it on the calculator, it's pretty straightforward. But again, this is another opportunity to ballpark. We can simplify it, round both of the numbers to the nearest 1,000, and then compute it. If you look on the right side for the United Kingdom, you'll see that it's roughly 10,000. Roughly speaking, 10,000. Okay, on the left side, you'll see that it's significantly greater than 10,000. We don't know exactly how much, but it's more. So we can safely conclude that the Americans can indeed buy more Big Macs than the British. The answer here is, okay, I wrote no, but the answer here is actually yes. It's true. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's conclude. So we've covered now all of the interesting questions on the table analysis, along with details and strategies and tips on how to prepare. At this point, you're probably thinking, well, how can I study for the exam, and what's the best way to get prepared? And as I said, if you stuck with us, I'd like to share with you a special treat. I want to show you how our app at Master GMAT is one of the most effective ways that you can prepare for your test. So let's see if we've got enough time. I've got about 5 minutes, and I think that should be enough. So earlier on, we talked about the topic of ballparking, and I want to make sure that I can share that with you. Share some lessons, Master GMAT. So I went ahead and logged in, and what you're seeing on the screen, please, I hope you can see this on the screen. What you guys are seeing here on the screen, is our app at Master GMAT. This is our virtual adaptive tutor that customizes the practice problems you receive based on your strengths and weaknesses. So the way this works is you're going to get lessons, and they're in the form of dialogue. They're conversations. They just speak to you. And you get to work on them. You get to practice the ideas. And right after you learn the theory, we don't want to drown you with loads and loads of theory, so we give you practice problems. So I'm going to go ahead, and we're going to take a look at just this one problem. It says, what is the value of x? And it's a data sufficiency problem. So I'd actually like for you guys to attempt this problem on your screen and write it up on the question and answer. Let me know what you guys think. All right, is it statement 1 alone? Is it statement 2 alone? Is it everything combined? Go ahead and try it out, and we'll come back and review this answer in a couple seconds. Now, let's see. I want to check. B, are you there? I want to make sure everyone can see the questions here. Is everyone able to see the learning app?
Yes, Aaron, it looks like a lot of people are streaming in with the answer.
Okay, excellent. 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 Okay, great. Keep on working on it. We'll give you about like another 30 seconds. I just want to introduce really quickly. If you guys want to follow along at home, it's very easy. You can do it right through your web browser. Just pop open a new tab and go to mastergmat.com. We've got a free 7-day trial, as I mentioned earlier. A free 7-day trial where you can check out up to 20% of our course. You can take a free practice exam, a completely free diagnostic exam with us. It works on any browser. It'll work on Google Chrome. It'll work on Firefox. It works on Safari. It even works on Internet Explorer. We worked hard for that. And in fact, we even support iPhone and iPad. So if you can spare like a 5-minute study break during lunchtime, you've got what it takes to learn the GMAT. Let's see. So do you have the kind of like, what was the most popular answer choice that students picked for this problem?
Looks like most people are definitely inputting C, although I do see a handful of B and E.
Okay, let's check it out. I'll go with the popular one now. So choice C. Awesome. Congratulations for everyone who got it correct. Indeed, this is choice C. And as you can see, our adaptive learning course, we don't just tell you what the right answer is. Okay, we're going to help explain the problem with a complete solution. And let's say, for example, let's say hypothetically you missed this question. Okay, I think you said B or E was like the two most common. So let's say I picked B, and you got it incorrect. Now we don't tell you right away what the correct answer is. What we do is we give you hints. We say, well, because 2 is a positive number and so on, we actually have insufficient data here. So please think again. You see, we want to hint you and guide you to the right answer. We don't want to just tell you it. And all the while you're studying on our software, we are actually silently diagnosing which subjects you're missing. So let's say you took this question and you missed that. Our system is picking up, hey, Aaron is weak in data sufficiency. And so in the future, our software is going to fine-tune the theory and the practice that you receive to specifically help you with data sufficiency. And that's really what makes our course special. Now, let's say you get stuck. So the choice is actually answer choice C. With statement 1, we figured out that x could be positive or negative 5. Okay, it could be plus or minus 5. And so we don't have sufficient data here. With statement 2, x could be any any set of numbers that are negative, I think. Okay. And so when we take these two alone, we don't have sufficient data. But when we combine the two statements together, we can know that only the number -5 works. And so we have sufficient data with the two statements combined. Now, I know this is a lot to digest in just this quick webinar, so I encourage you guys to check it out. Now, one special feature I really want to demo to you guys before we finish is we have this Ask a Tutor comment. You just hover over the light bulb icon, and you click on this chat bubble. If you don't understand this question, you can say, "Hi, Aaron, why is it that x equals +5 is not one of the solutions? You know, I really don't understand." And it's as simple as clicking the Ask button, and immediately this question is routed to one of our instructors. And since I help answer the quant, I may be hearing from a lot of you guys soon. So go ahead and try it out. You know, if you get stuck, it's as simple as clicking the light bulb icon and then clicking the chat bubble. Okay, so now we're going to finish off with the round of questions that you guys may have about the integrated reasoning section. But before I finish, I just want to remind you guys, please do sign up. Check out our free trial at Master GMAT. You'll get 7 days completely free to use our course and to take the practice exam. If you've never taken the GMAT before, now is your chance. And finally, for any of you guys who came in late, who didn't get to see the webinar until just now, I wanted to mention we have got a special deal going on for all of the attendees at this Beat the GMAT webinar. The promo code is webinar20. You'll get 20% off any of the courses at Master GMAT. This is an unbelievable value, and it doesn't come by very often. So again, the promo code is webinar20, WEBINAR20. At the end of the free trial, you'll be redirected to your account upgrade page where you can enter the promo, and I'll just show you real quick where to go. And in the meantime, can we take some questions? I'd like to hear from you guys.
Yes, thank you, Aaron. And for people who joined us a little bit later, this is Aaron Lin from Master GMAT. He just kind of did a deep dive of integrated reasoning question type table analysis. So we did get quite a bit of great questions coming through during your presentation, Aaron. And why don't we go ahead and jump into them? First things first, there was quite a bit of questions on your first example when you were sorting the tables, where people wanted to know, one, will the tables actually be sortable at the actual exam?
Absolutely. They will be sortable. They will be very simple to sort. It's going to be in the form of a drop-down box, like I showed in the example. You just click it, and it's as simple as filling out a form on a website.
Great. So I hope that answers your questions, folks, Priyanka particularly. The other one is the other one in terms of kind of sorting was from Brajesh, who asks, so when you sort tables, will the tables always get sorted in ascending order, or can you order in descending order?
Okay, good question. Yes, you're allowed to sort ascending or descending order. I think it will be indicated on the drop-down box which order it will be sorted in. You can choose, and make sure you choose carefully. Now, not every row can be sorted in ascending, descending order. It depends on whether or not they've included that option. But really, once you've got it in order, you can just read the table backwards and sort of work your way through it. So it shouldn't be too difficult, even if it's disabled.
Great. Thanks for that. Now we actually have some questions specifically about the examples that you showed. So, Aaron, would it be possible to just kind of flash back to your first one, the salary table analysis question? So we had a lot of questions actually coming in.
Sure. Okay.
We had quite a bit of questions coming in from multiple people about the last question. One was, can we look at the change in salary percentage column to answer this question?
Okay, great question. Usually, when we talk about increase in salary, it's going to be about the absolute magnitude. it's usually going to be about the absolute magnitude. However, there could be some ambiguity on the real test. So on the real exam, on the real GMAT, sorry about the transition, on the real GMAT, they will usually specify and make it clear. If it's not clear, do your best to guess what the test maker is trying to ask for. It's usually absolute magnitude and not perception.
Okay, great. Thank you. And another question about that particular question, there was, again, quite a bit of people asking this same question was, what does the word median mean in this instance? And how do you get median salary by just subtracting the salaries?
Okay, great question. Now, actually, I had prepared some captions for this table, and I ended up discarding them because I wanted it to be very clear and very easy to see. So actually, you could just leave out the word median for this problem. Originally, the data was supposed to say that these are the median salaries. I didn't want to test any specific knowledge on statistics for this problem. However, on the real GMAT, you may be expected to integrate some of the theory that you've learned from the quant also in the integrated reasoning section. So just keep in mind that the median is the middle element of a set.
Ah, great. Well, thank you. That helps clarify. Some other questions came about in terms of your Big Mac index example. Mm-hmm. Would it be possible to quickly flash up that screen?
Let's jump to it directly, actually. Oh no, it crashed. Okay.
Oh no, sorry about that.
Maybe it won't be possible. I apologize for that. Maybe it won't be possible.
No worries.
Let me pause it for a moment. Let me pause my screen so I can get that back up for you guys.
Don't worry about it. In the meanwhile, while you're doing that, we actually have some great questions about the Master GMAT platform itself. So does the free practice that you mentioned, does that contain the IR section, or are there any IR practice questions available through Master GMAT?
Okay, good question. At the moment, we have not yet integrated the new IR questions into our learning app at Master GMAT. We're still developing a lot of the new material because it's such a new section to the course. We do intend to have a supplement of IR questions that you can learn separately as part of the course. We're hoping to have that out by early June. In the meantime, we're still encouraging all of the students to really spend their time learning the quant and the verbal. Because although the IR section is new, it actually, I'm hearing a lot of echo actually. The IR section is new, but the most important section is still the quant and the verbal. So that's still what we're focusing on. That's what MBA programs are going to take into consideration the most.
Okay, great. So I hope that answers your question, Kamita. One other question that I see, so I do see people still asking questions about the Big Mac, but folks, it seems like that may have, we may not be able to bring up that slide again, so,
okay. I think I got it. Let's hope it works. Okay, it looks like it worked. Okay, let me share it with you now. Can you guys see it?
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful.
Yep, that looks great. So we got quite a bit of questions coming in about the first portion, which is the question doesn't seem to mention higher than 5.0. So should we focus only on those countries that have the Big Mac index of exactly 5.0, or do we indeed look at the ones that are greater than 5.0?
Ooh, great point. Actually, it seems like a bit of the text had been chipped off. Actually, we had intended the question to say no country with the Big Mac index of more than 5.0 had
Gotcha.
greater than 3% GDP growth. Yeah, sorry.
You know what? We have some really smart and fast people in our community. They're catching
Wonderful.
on really quickly. So that's great. So I think that, that kind of brings us to the end of this webinar. There are more questions, but they seem to be, coming in specifically about the actual examples, and it seems like we're running out of time. Mm-hmm. So Erin, thank you so much for your presentation today. Again, just as a reiteration for you folks, you will be receiving an email after this in about 30 minutes, kind of talking about 20% discount that Erin's mentioned that's just exclusive to you guys as the attendees of our webinar. So please definitely check that out. Also, if you haven't already, please go and do the 7-day trial because I've done it myself personally. It's great. It's fantastic. Master GMAT's technology is really top notch. So I would definitely highly encourage you guys to do that. And last but not least, we have 1 day left of our webinar series tomorrow. So please come back for that. It is the two-part analysis. So 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, Friday. I know it's a Friday night, but I think this is definitely worth it. So definitely try to come back 8 p.m. for the two-part analysis. So Erin, thank you once again. Fantastic job. And hope to see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Bea. Glad to be with you guys.